Good evening and welcome to our 15th presentation. This one being about conformation and some thoughts about soundness. Horse conformation is a chapter that can fill many hours. In this context here, we're looking at conformation as it applies to hoof care. While there are many conformational challenges listed in conventional horse books, we have learned in natural hoof care that a multitude of these conformational problems can be changed by correctly balancing the hoof. As the hoof is the base of the horse, it often determines all the angles in the skeletal structure above. What you see here are the correct angles of a sound horse. This is a drawing from a rather old conformation book that I had as a student in Germany, and it is worldwide so kind of sort of accepted as the standard for a performance horse. When people look at conformation, they usually look at less at color and beauty, but more at structural soundness. And a horse that has in the front leg these angles and in the hind leg these angles is usually structurally sound. The healthy horse travels with his feet in a straight line. And when you want to determine if you have a healthy straight front leg conformation, then you drop a line from the point of the shoulder, which is the middle of the shoulder joint, and this line will bisect a normal forelimb. When you look at the picture, the drawing here on the right side, a line from the tuber of the scapular spine, that is the ridge that is on the scapular spine, in the middle of the shoulder blade, bisects a normal, if you drop this down in a straight line, it bisects the front leg through the fetlock and then drops behind the hoof. This would be with a vertical cannon bone, this would be a healthy horse, conformation-wise, in the front limb. In the hind limb, you drop a line from the point of the ischiatic tuber, which is also known as the pin bone, this here. You will see that same bone here again on the right picture. This is the pin bone or the ischiatic tuber. This line bisects a normal hind limb. In the lateral view, you would try to envision that point and then drop a line straight down to the back of the leg, and then it certainly falls behind the hoof again. And then we have a whole slew of so-named conformation faults. In A, on the very left side, this is a base narrow horse, and a base narrow horse loads the hoof toward the outside hoof wall. Number B, or 2B, is base wide. It loads towards the inner hoof wall. C is toed in. It loads towards the outside hoof wall. D is known as toed out. Again, loads towards the inner hoof wall. A horse that has his knees close together and the feet far apart is known as knock-kneed. It's loading towards the inner hoof wall. And a horse that has his feet close together but the knees far apart is known as bow-legged. He's loading towards the outside of the hoof wall. And here you have a few real pictures. So this is a straight conformation. Don't look at the hoofs because they're all wrong, but I couldn't find anything better. Here you have a horse that's a little bit wider below and closer in the knees. Here you have a horse that is closer below and wider in the knees. And then we have a horse here that's toed in, one that's toed out in the middle, and this one is slightly toed in again. So all kind of different conformation faults. In a toe-out conformation, the horse usually causes the forefoot to break over the lateral side of the toe and arc to the inside. The result is a gait named winging. In the toe-in conformation usually results in the forefoot swinging to the outside as it leaves the ground. The result is paddling. And the whole reason for all of this is that the horse has to move around the high side of the foot. It is painful to break over straight. So he moves around and that brings on the winging or the paddling. From a lateral aspect, we have horses that are standing forward. Remember, this is conventional thinking. We have horses that are standing back. We have calf-kneed horses and buck-kneed horses. Those are the classifications in conventional wisdom. In the next picture, we have a horse that is bent in the knee forward and bent in the knee back. But when you look down here at the hoof conformation, then you see that this is a very short toe. That's very far taken back. And you also can, hopefully on your computer, see that this is a pushed up lateral cartilage. So there is some heel pain going on here. And this horse has a very underslung heel and a long toe, and I can almost assure you that if you bring this hoof in correct balance, this will all go away. But we talk about this in a little bit. Problems from the back. Incorrect hind limb conformation. A, base and hock narrow. B, base wide and hock wide. C, toed in. D, toed out. E, cow-hocked, loading towards the inside of the hoof. F, bow-legged, loading towards the outside of the hoof. This is very common even in barefoot horses. Here we have a fairly straight hind leg conformation It's always hard to make a really good picture of this. If you stand horses up and you don't have totally great surface and a good handler, it's a bear. I tell you, I have tried to take, these pictures are not mine, but they were too good to pass on. So this is fairly normal from the ischiatic tuber straight down, bisects the hind leg. Fits pretty well. Here we have a confirmation that where the knees are where the hocks are close together, and in this picture they are even closer together. It's a little bit a different horse as well. You see how wide this hip is versus this one. So things are a little bit different in the overall type of the horse. So and then we have from left to right A sickle-hocked, B post-legged, which means it's very straight, and C coon-footed. We will talk about coon-footed in a later lecture, together with clubfoot, extensor bearing foot, and then the coon foot. And I will tell you then why coon feet happen and how you can possibly remedy the situation with trimming. Here we have on the left side a very straight upright horse, which would be in most conformation books described as post-legged, and on the right side we have a sickle-hocked horse, and we see a lot of sickle-hocked horses when they have laminitis or when they have foundered, because what they are doing is they are pushing the weight, their hind feet under the middle of the body to relieve pain in the front feet. Another possibility of a sickle-footed horse that does not really want to weigh the toes would be that the toe is too long and too high. And that causes pain, and therefore they stand more and more in the heel, which then underruns the heel as a next possibility scenario. And they do not stand with the cannon bone upright. So these are the possibilities. And then we have some last conventional wisdom. It is conventionally thought that an upright shoulder, like in the picture on the right, produces a short pastern, which means the horse has decreased levering effect in the support phase, will come up with a high heel and a short toe. And there are quite a few schools that think like this. There are also quite a few schools that think that if you fix the top line, you get better legs. This is a kind of, to me, like building the house from the roof down. I always think of building first the foundation and making that straight, and then you can get a straight and correct angled horse on top, or house on top, and in our case that's the horse. In the left picture we have a more sloped shoulder, and therefore conventional wisdom says the pastern will be more sloped, the heel will be lower, the toe will be longer, and all of this will beautifully come together if only the conformation is right. But not everybody thinks that way, and we certainly don't. In holistic hoof care, we look at the stance of the horse. May this be from the front or from the back a little bit different, or from the side. This little guy here has definitely pain in the front of the right toe. He can hold his weight on the left, but the right toe is really his problem foot. And this problem foot is one that is long-term founded. So he is still standing fairly okay in the back. He's not too far pushed under, but you just let this go a little bit longer and he gets the next inflammation attack and he will push his hind feet under to move on the front. So if the front legs is slanted out front, it is usually pain in the toe. If you have a horse like this, where the leg is turned back, and the cannon bone is slanted back, you have usually pain in the heel. Now, if you have here pain in the heel in such a significant way that the horse tries to relieve the heel pain, then he will come with the hind leg more under. And then he stands so kind of like a goat on a rock. And then everything up here goes out of alignment as well. Is this a badly conformed horse? Well, she's not God's most beautiful creature, but when she finally got out of the muscular tension that she is in this picture, with this stance where it starts to go into sickle hocked here, the hind cannon is slanted forward. She's trying to relieve the pain in the front leg any way she can, which wasn't easy. This is also a very big horse. But you see everything else is cramped up. She's just holding herself with all the muscle power that she can. And this horse was constantly in muscle tension from the pain of the feet. Is this a healthy situation? How do the bones stack up and the joints onto each other starting on the ground? When you look at this, it doesn't look quite as bad on the left. I think it looks worse on the right. They are both no beauties. And we will have later on another picture. This picture was made after trimming. So the long inside wall is taken down already. So this is not, all you have left is the crooked legs. But this is taken, there is so much joint adaptation here that this sits like this even if you balance the hoof. Over time, you will be able to remedy this. Look at the picture on the left. It's not perfectly taken from the front, but when you just look at this picture, and you can take your view away from the radiograph, then this looks fairly good. Not too bad. Then you look at the radiograph, and you see the outline of the coffin bone, and that outline is in relation to the ground, none too straight. It's pretty crooked. And whatever stacks up here on top is crooked again. So this horse definitely loads here on the outside wall. Now when you look at this again, you have here a little bit longer wall than what you have here. And if you turn this hoof a little bit more, which with other words, if you take the camera a little bit more this way, people have a hard time putting the camera lens directly in front of the hoof. What if the horse moves forward? I've never had a horse step on my camera so far, and I've taken thousands of pictures. But that's just beside the point. If you go a little bit more this way, you will see how high this wall is. So you have to really learn to look before you take the knife to anything. And when you have a base like this, you can see it in this picture here, then certainly you have problems with the joint alignment on top. You can almost see this here, that you have here a little bit more space than here. And this alignment is not really good. It's even so it doesn't have a differentiating joint space, but it's not sitting quite on top of each other, because this down here sets everything on kilter. These are two pictures from Gene Ovnicek, the inventor of the 4-point trim. In the left picture that shows heel first landing, a horse that moves correctly with the total absence of pain will not only land heel first, he also will have a longer stride and more elevation in his stride than a horse in pain. On the right side, this not only results in a short stride, the toe first landing that is, but also does not allow for shock absorption, as we have learned in the hoof function lecture, that the properly aligned bone column in the lower leg is a perfect shock absorber. This toe first landing does nothing for shock absorption. It is rather painful and jarring. Here are two pictures by Dwayne Snyder. If you want to see some gorgeous pictures from a very talented photographer, then Google Dwayne Snyder, S-N-Y-D-E-R. And these are pictures of his wife on her beloved little horse Cisco. And on the left side you see a horse that is typically for toe first landing. He doesn't look too happy in the back, he doesn't look too happy in the neck, in the mouth, and certainly doesn't stride out very confidently. In the picture on the right, and that picture was done some time before I met the two. In the picture on the right, this picture was taken one day after I trimmed the horse. And the horse had high heels, had high impacted bars, and all it took was to put a normal trim on him. And what a difference it is in the movement. This is one of my favorite series, because it is so obvious how much better the horse moves in the absence of heel pain and with a corrected base of his skeleton. I didn't correct the skeleton, but I corrected what the skeleton sits in. So that brings us to the question, and away from conformation at large, what constitutes a sound horse? This is a rather interesting topic, and I've fiddled around with this for a while. In general, sound is understood as the absence of obvious lameness, which means the horse has a regular footfall. Now, in the afternoon call, the 2 o'clock, Dr. Bob Cook, the inventor of the bitless bridle, is on that call. And this is a very small group, so we call on everybody afterwards, and everybody puts in his 2 cents. And he put in a very important point, and I want to share this with you before I go on with my what constitutes the complaints about why horses cannot go barefoot. He said, if you, and I know that this is researched and this is a fact, if you put a bit in the horse's mouth, it also often gets lame. And we discussed for a little while the merits of the bitless bridle, because before you try to determine if your horse is really lame from a hoof problem, try to take the bit out while you're riding the horse and moving the horse. It may just be that the horse is lame because of the bit. That happens often enough. And that is a very simple fix. Whereas taking shoes off and trimming correctly is not quite so simple, and oftentimes paired with a lengthy rehabilitation. So you want to try this if you can take the bit out and get a better result. And I will have, when we're done with this webinar, I will offer another one that will talk more about training and bits and spurs and whips. And we'll repeat a little bit about something about shoes as well, just so we shall not forget. But that comes in December, January next year. So, many people are having lots of reasons why they don't want to take the shoes off of their horses. And one of those reasons, and I think it's 10 of them. Hold on. It is actually 13 different reasons why people can't take the shoes off. And I want to go one by one through these and tell you what you could say to something or how we reason this out if somebody comes up with one of these statements. My horse cannot walk without shoes, cannot even walk without shoes. A horse who cannot walk without shoes is definitely not sound. There are no inheritable bad feet. Almost all horses are born with good feet. If they are not, it may well have something to do with the maintenance of the mare during pregnancy. And I'm a strong believer in this. If you want an absolute healthy foal, you have to start by managing the mare properly before she gets bred, and you also have to manage the stallion properly before he breeds the mare. And then you have to manage the mare properly during pregnancy, which means you have to move her a lot. And you have to give her good nutrition. Not bulk nutrition, not lots of protein or lots of sugar, but quality nutrition. Lots of air, lots of movement. That is correct mare management. Usually mares sit in the pasture and they're just pregnant. That does not always make for healthy foals. Many horses are not necessarily raised to maintain good feet. That's the next step. Shoes mask a lot of existing problems. If you take your horse's shoes off and he is skimpy, he may need some time to transition his feet to soundness. That process may take a precise trim, a very strict transitioning protocol, and a lot of input from the owner or caretaker. And this is the biggest drawback in our trim business, is the input from the owner. We as professional trimmers come only every mostly 2 weeks, usually 4 weeks, sometimes even only 6 weeks in some rare cases. But what we do is very important for the half hour, 45 minutes that we do it, and makes a big difference, but it does not in itself make the horse sound. The owner's input, or let me say it the other way around, the rehabilitation of the horse depends directly on the owner's involvement. If you leave the farm after you trimmed the horse and instructed the owner to walk the horse 3 times a day for 20 minutes in hand, and all the other time have him turned out, and that owner sticks the horse in the stall and says, "Go to hell, I don't have time for this. That's why I hire a trimmer, they have to do the work." Then this horse is not going to rehabilitate like a horse that you trim, and the owner says, "Well, she said I should walk him 3 times a day for 20 minutes. I'm just having a good time. I walk him 3 times a day for half an hour." And you come back and you say, "Wow, what happened here? This looks really good." Makes all the difference in the world. So much just for owner involvement once again, and I think I brought this up before, and I will bring this up again. Another thing people often say is, "My horse walks gingerly over rocks, and so I have to put shoes on." Barefoot horses often are not trimmed correctly or are not conditioned correctly. If the horse is not exposed to rocky terrain frequently, he may never have the ability to walk over rocks with ease. Any horse can walk over rocks. You just have to give him time. And people are so impatient. Give him time to walk over the rocks. They can do that. But go ahead and just think about yourself. Could you walk barefoot on carpet? Everybody's grinning now. Absolutely. Who cannot walk barefoot on carpet? But could you walk over rocks with ease after having walked on carpet for months? Hardly. It's not happening. And what happens after you walk for a summer season outside without shoes? Now this is much easier to walk over the rocks. You just conditioned your feet. And you have to do the same thing with your horse. There are several steps in getting your horse to walk easily over rocks. 1. A correct, frequent trim. 8 to 12 weeks between trims is not frequent. 2. A reasonable time period to allow all inflammation to subside after the shoes are taken off. And 3, a reasonable time frame to allow for a tight coffin bone attachment within the hoof capsule, and then 4, gradual conditioning. That means you take your horse out every day on some hard ground. First, maybe for 15 minutes on the road. Then after a week or 2 for 20 minutes. And then in the next week for 30 minutes. And so on. Till the horse is sufficiently conditioned to the terrain you want to ride him on. Another complaint. My horse stumbles often. Stumbling is often a sign of unsoundness. The horse steps on uneven ground and pulls his foot away fast to avoid pain. The rider interprets this as stumbling and often looks immediately what his horse stumbled over. As the frequency of stumbling increases, so does the unsoundness. A healthy horse does not stumble. He may, however, once in a while pull his healthy hoof away quickly when making contact with a sharp rock in order to forego damage. A healthy hoof can feel the ground. A barefoot horse will not come up with a stone bruise. They do not step on sharp stones with all of their might like a numb, short horse would do. Barefoot horses bruise too, but not from rocks, from sharp rocks. They pull that foot away before it hurts them. Just again, think about what you would do if you step on something sharp all of a sudden. You don't go there with all of your might and let that rock really dig into your soul. You pull the foot away and go, oh! And make that sound. My horse is short-strided. In my personal early training, I learned that there were short-strided horses and long-strided horses. Horses with short pasterns and horses with long pasterns. I learned how to evaluate each by studying their conformation. It was a very arduous deal. Conformation. You hoped that you saw the right thing. While this seemed to be fairly accurate after you studied it forever and a day, I now have learned something more valuable. Correct hoof form creates correct conformation. A short pastern often indicates an inferior laminar attachment of the coffin bone. Note I said often, not always. The horse is in a variety of degrees of pain and short-strided. Or a high heel changes the mechanics of the gait to the point that the horse becomes short-strided. With the high heel comes a steeper pastern angle and a steeper shoulder angle. Once the heel is lowered to the correct height, the pastern becomes more sloped, and so does the shoulder. Now I grant you that there are some people that don't like that. They like their horses short-strided. They like their horses to be kind of hardly moving. But that's not what we're talking about here. My horse wings or paddles. Therefore he needs shoes. This is usually not an inherited conformation fault, but an imbalance of the hoof. A horse who paddles has usually a longer wall on the inside of the front hoof. He toes in because this is the only way his body can handle the higher inside wall. We talked about this already. A winging horse usually toes out and the outside wall is longer, creating a different problem. Over time, the stress and inflammation on the insertion points of the ligaments, remember where they are, in this hoof turns into a bone addition also known as ring bone. In this hoof that is depicted here, you see that it's severely out of balance. This is a left hind hoof. The green line indicates where the coronet band should be if the hoof was balanced. A word again, I think I have said this already once, but I say it again. Why do horses seem always to grow faster, higher on the inside of the hind foot? If you want to, at this time, get up from your computer chair and stand upright and put one foot up, you will feel how your foot has the tendency to take more the foot that's still on the ground has the tendency to take a little bit more weight on the outside. The same thing happens with the horse that is standing around a lot. He's either bored or he has the food right in front of his nose and the water beside it. He doesn't have to move, period. And so he rests as much as he can one hind foot. And all the while he rests, he has more weight on the outside of the opposite hind foot. Therefore, the inside wall that doesn't have as much pressure on it grows faster. You can help this if you pay attention to this fact as a trimmer, and every time that you trim this horse, you keep the inside wall level with the outside wall. That's all it takes. Doesn't take much more. And then you have to do something so your horse moves more. But this is what happens with imbalances. When people say my horse can't go barefoot because it wings or paddles, that also happens in the front feet. Not for the same reason, however. Here we have that horse that I had before, where I said I have a later picture when she was not trimmed. And you can see on the right front hoof here how the coronet band is sloping up to the inside. And the wall here is significantly longer. In this picture it doesn't show so well. It's also a little, it is a low resolution, so it doesn't look quite so good. But what I wanted to show you here is the enormous ring bone that has developed. This is, in this picture, this mare was 14, 15 years old and had developed massive ring bone through almost 14 years of being towed in. And it went away eventually. The ring bone didn't totally go away, but the horse got through correct trimming well enough that when she found a new home in New Hampshire and was presented to the American Trakehner Association, she passed the test to be admitted in the main stud book, and so her legs were straight enough by that time to be admitted into the main stud book. And she has 2 foals by now that I know of. Maybe this year she had another one. I have lost a little touch there. And both foals have perfectly straight front legs. Another complaint, my horse doesn't go forward. The lazy or bomb-proof horse often does not want to move because his feet hurt. High bars and high heels throw the hoof off balance, and the frontal laminar attachment becomes inflamed. These horses are also usually short-strided. Remove the problem, rehabilitate the horse, and you just may all of a sudden have more horse than you are used to handle. He's up and ready to go. I want to throw in another plug here about this so-named natural horsemanship, where one of the horsemanship leaders say you have to assert yourself as the leader in the relationship with your horse so that he moves forward and so that he goes when you ask him to go. It's a matter of your energy. Yes, certainly it is. Because the horse resorts to something that we name learned helplessness. He knows there is no way out when he goes slow. If you are the leader, he has to, if it hurts or not, move. And he does it despite of the fact that it is painful. This is not a good way to have a loving relationship with your horse. The other extreme of this is my horse often or always runs away with me. The horse in pain tries often to outrun the pain. He also shies a lot, always protecting his sore feet. His survival instinct tells him to run earlier as he is a bit handicapped with the sore feet. Horses with sore feet are very skittish. They're either bullyish or skittish. Depends a little bit what base temperament they come from. And I see both kinds. They plow straight through you with their sore feet, or they try to jump away from you with their sore feet. Both scenarios are certainly there. I had a Tennessee walking mare here in rehabilitation, came with very contracted feet and not quite enough toe height. We tried to ride her a little bit, and she was no fun to ride. So she ran so enormously away with you. She always tried to outguess you and outrun you and be gone. The horse was here for quite a while, so towards the end of the rehabilitation, we got on again, and she was an absolute delight to ride. You could ride her on a loose rein, and she would just walk at a big walk, but very relaxed along. And when the owner picked her up and rode her again, she said, "That's not the same horse that I brought to you." Training-wise, just she moves so much easier now. Pain in the foot. And again, I want to repeat this just one more time. This could also be pain in the mouth. This is not always foot, but we are talking here about the points that people say that they have problems with without shoes, and why they can't go barefoot. My horse is stiff to the left or to the right. Once a horse is started under saddle or in harness, lateral suppleness is always a goal. Good horses are evenly smooth to both sides. There are myriad of exercises to achieve this. I feel that in my training years I have written every single one of them. But often it is difficult, and the lateral stiffness, the inability to become fully supple, is anchored in a balance problem of the hoof. It also, I just want to mention this again, can be anchored in the neck and in the head. So it's not always the hoof, but we're talking here about hoof care mainly. This may well result in a chiropractic problem or muscular problem, but neither the chiropractor nor the massage therapist can achieve a lasting result if the base, which is the hoof, is off balance. And I can tell you to how many massage therapists I tried to talk about this, and not one of them so far has tried to learn anything about hoof care. If they would learn this, maybe they could advise their clients about the right thing to do for their horses. And in my book, that would be certainly important. My horse has a hard, uncomfortable gait. Therefore, I fall in the mud. Smooth riding horses land heel first. That was established. This is the way nature intended. It allows every muscle to work without too much strain and makes for a soft back. Horses with hoof pain hold their body braced against the pain and become rigid and hard to sit. The same is true for an ill-fitting saddle. The horse will tighten the back against the pain and will become an unpleasant ride. Together with this goes the next complaint: my horse does not release in the poll. The nuchal ligament is a ligament that spans from the head to the tail, covers the spine, and is connected to the musculature of the rump and neck. When the horse braces the shoulders and back, he cannot release the neck to round and relax. This also may be a problem with the alignment of the teeth or an ill-fitting bit. When you look at this picture, this horse does not have even the bit in. This is a hackamore, which is just as, almost as vile as a bit. But look at this tight tie down. And then something else I find interesting, the pole is totally stiff, that I find interesting is when I look at the jaw of this girl and I look at the jaw of the horse, they're equally clenched. They name this having fun with horses. She may be having fun, but he doesn't look to me as if he's having fun. Look at the eye. My horse refuses to jump. Goes so a little bit in the refuses to go forward. But while there are many reasons for horses to refuse a jump, hoof pain is one of them. In the landing phase of the jump, the horse has to bring all of his weight for a moment onto a single hoof. If this hoof is not healthy, this phase of the jump hurts the most. Once this pain is engraved in his memory, he will refuse the jump. And again, there are many training reasons why horses refuse the jump. And asserting yourself is not necessarily the right way to do this. You may want to check first if your horse is totally sound. My horse's soft feet break easily out on hard ground. There are several possibilities for this problem. When your horse is first deshod, the horn towards the ground is of an inferior quality and breaks out easily. If the horse does live on soft ground and neither moves a lot nor gets trimmed regularly, his feet may become overgrown quickly. An overgrown hoof self-trims by breaking out. This is what you see here in the picture. When a hoof is soft from inferior horn quality, you have to be patient until the better quality horn has grown in from the coronet band. A hoof that is soft from intense hydration is a very elastic hoof, an excellent shock absorber, and this kind of hoof has to be conditioned for hard ground by gradually exposing him to the same. It can be done if people have patience and allow the horse the transition to a healthy foot. My horse's soles are too thin. This is usually determined by X-rays. But here's the question that I tried to illustrate with these two pictures. Are the soles too thin, or is the coffin bone not properly attached? Remember last time when we talked about metabolic problems and how that makes the laminar attachment weak and the coffin bone sits on the sole, therefore diminishing the blood supply to the sole, and less sole horn is built and the sole gets thinner? Well, here you have it in picture 1. On the left, the coffin bone is not properly attached and the sole looks thin. This here is the yellow line is the extensor process, the red line is the hairline. So you see how much deeper this sits here. There's quite a bit missing. However, since this is not rotated, this is usually by the veterinary community not seen as a sunken coffin bone or a founder. Sinking is founder too. So then in that other picture, which is from Jamie Jackson, you have again a yellow line on the extensor process and a red line on the top of the hoof capsule. And all of a sudden you have a whole lot of so-named sole But it's not that you have more sole, it's that the hoof, the coffin bone is tighter attached to the hoof wall, or the hoof wall is tighter attached to the coffin bone. And therefore, it sits higher up in the hoof capsule. So again, thin-soled horses are a management problem. Not shoeing doesn't help with thin soles at all. Quite the contrary, it gets worse. So all of the above sounds a bit strange at first. How come that horses are in so much pain, so unsound, but still do reasonably well by human standards? This has something to do with survival. A prey animal is not well if he limps. He will be spotted by the predator and will be an instant target for the predator's hungry belly. For the same reason, horses do not make a sound when they are in pain. They would be too easily detected. They don't limp and they don't moan and groan, if they can avoid it. When a horse moans and groans, he's half dead, or he's well on his way to being dead. Horses suffer in silence. Do not mistake this for the absence of pain. And even so, this is a lousy shot of yours truly, because I wasn't fast enough with the camera, nor was I far enough away, and couldn't adjust it fast enough. But I really like this picture as a picture of a horse that moves sound, in total absence of pain. This horse was so relaxed when she was moving and always had a huge stride. And even so, the rider is not the best rider in the world on top. She just moved along. This was all good to her. That's the kind of movement you want from your horse. So, to finish this up, I want to share with you what I think a sound horse should be like. A sound horse is a barefoot horse who can move over any type of terrain, soft or hard, rocks or gravel, you name it, at any speed. Working trot, medium trot, extended trot, gallop, canter, walk, doesn't matter. Any gait, walk, trot, canter, and all the assorted gaited gaits, and at full range of motion, which means he really can reach out there for an extended period of time, not only when somebody shakes a plastic bag behind him and he's out of there and he can all of a sudden move, but for an extended period of time. One more time. A sound horse is a barefoot horse who can move over any type of terrain at any speed, any gait, and a full range of motion for an extended period of time. And now that you have wasted a totally good full hour again listening to me, I would like to invite your questions. And if you want to raise your hand, I take the questions first, and then we fill it with a few extras. Good evening, Shira.
Good evening, Claudia. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I actually had a question about ring bone. You brought it up tonight. I don't know if you're going to have, I can't remember if a future webinar is going to actually focus on it or not, or if I should ask my question about it now.
You ask it now, and if it focuses on it, we will talk about it again.
I had understood, and I could be completely off, that a horse with ring bone, when the joints have not yet fused,
Yes?
if you bring that hoof into balance so that the joints line up correctly, the bones line up correctly, that the calcification will wear away that caused the ring bone, and you will eventually not have the ring bone anymore.
Yes?
Is that correct?
That is my understanding and my observation.
Good, because I was feeling like I was actually doing, somebody had questioned me on that, and then asked me for scientific proof and x-rays, neither of which I had. And I was sitting there thinking, okay, I really must have misunderstood something, because there's all this scientific, quote, proof out there that says that ringbone is, quote, not curable. And yet I've seen it and helped horses who had it, helped them become completely sound and the ringbone disappear.
You know, this goes so like with the shoeing. I think the burden of proving that shoes are good for the horse should be put on the community that puts shoes on the horses, and not the proof that barefoot is good should be put on us. Why doesn't the one who says I need shoes on my horse prove that they are scientifically proven to be good for the horse? Because quite the opposite is true. Everybody who studies hoofs comes to the conclusion that shoes are evil. The ring bone is the same thing. Why doesn't the person that says the ring, she doesn't believe that the ring bone goes away, give you scientific proof that it doesn't go away despite your trimming? You know, it goes both ways. I'm starting to get tired. All the evidence is there. We have tons of pictures. I have pictures of the same mare that I showed you, the Trakehner mare with the crooked feet. I have pictures that I got the feet straight. The blemish, and let's repeat one more time what a blemish is. A blemish is something unsightly that does not interfere with the soundness of the horse. There will stay a certain blemish on that joint, because where the ring bone later on does not hinder the movement anymore, it will not go away.
Right, because there's nothing to wear away the calcification.
There is no tension, there is no pressure, there is nothing. So what would wear it away? Yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And some people you just cannot... Here I go again. I don't want to talk anybody anymore into barefoot who says my horse needs shoes. If they are kind of sitting on the fence, I talk to them. But if they go and give me a hard time about it, I don't have time for this. You know, they just want to do this to pester me. No. Give it a try. You want to do what's right for your horse, or you want to wait till the ring bone is fused and then goodbye? Be my guest. Plus, if you take such a horse on trimming, get base radiographs, and then get radiographs after a year again, and then you have proof. And Shira, you know it goes away.
Oh, I know. I just,
Yeah?
the horses that I've trimmed, I didn't have the radiographs.
Yeah? We all make that mistake.
Yeah.
I don't have radiographs of the mare either. So, shoot me. If she's good enough for the American Trakehner Association, it's good enough for me.
Well, I appreciate it, because I just wanted to make sure that I hadn't actually misunderstood
No.
something, and that I was actually saying correct things.
No, you said the correct thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy? Amy in Canada? Amy walked away. Huh. We caught her. April, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. You have anything to add, to ask, to do?
No, not tonight. You get me thinking every night, though, so I probably won't be able to sleep for another few hours.
Okay. Sorry for that, but that's...
No, that's good.
That's the intent of this course. Very good. Thank you, April. Betsy, for some reason I can't unmute you. I have no idea what this is. So I come back to you, I promise. Maybe it works for somebody with a little bit later. Don't know what that is. Can click on you endlessly and it doesn't work. But I can unmute Candy. Candy? Oh, I think Candy is the one who has no microphone. It looks here on my screen as if you have one. Capri?
Hi.
Hi, Capri.
No, I don't have anything to ask or to say.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's good. Carla? Carla is not there either? Or she lost her headset. Sarah says, for clarification, the blemish from the ring bone stays present, correct? How can you tell again in the x-rays that the ring bone is no longer an issue? In the x-rays you can't. An x-ray is just a visual of the bone structure. The function you have to assess on the moving horse. So you cannot tell by the x-ray if the ring bone is causing a problem. Well, you can if it is really severe. But if your horse still has that blemish from the ring bone that's still present, but is moving totally well, that's all you need. What do you mean with okay? So movement will give you the... Yes, sorry, I sometimes I don't read so well always. Yeah, the movement will give you the answer. If the horse moves without any problems, then the ring bone is no longer a problem. That's what it boils down to. Thank you for your questions. Denise. No, Denise. I'm not having much luck tonight. Frederica.
Good evening, Claudia.
Good evening.
I have a question about the conformations pictures you just showed about the narrow base, wide base, etc.
Yeah.
Would it be possible to put that in a file in the Yahoo group?
Yeah. Everything's possible.
Because I see it just in a few seconds, and it's nice if you can look a little bit longer at those pictures.
You don't have the recordings? You don't have access to the recordings?
It's nice if you can look a little bit longer.
Yeah. Well, on the recordings you can pause it and look as long as you want to. That's what I want to say. But
Okay.
I will try to put them up. I will try.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Thanks.
Jennifer? Jennifer?
Hi, I'm here. Listen, I have a mare named Patchett, and I've had her barefoot most of her life.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided to have her shod during the summer, just because I was doing a lot of trail rides, and I wanted her to get used to being shod, in case I sold her to somebody else and they wanted to put shoes on her. Now I'm trying to bring her back to the barefoot world where she was and went sound 100% of the year. I got her when she was 3. She's 12 years old now. As I go into August in Washington State, she has a hard time on rocky ground. Some of our trails are very rocky going through the woods. I've been walking her not trotting and cantering. I'm trying to be patient. Maybe I am not as patient as I should be, like you were saying. I'm thinking about getting some easy boots to put on her just for trail rides. She's fine on grass. She's fine in sand. She's fine in the riding ring. But it's just on those rocky trails.
Yeah.
She's having a hard time. So, she starts to get mincy. So I would just like your feedback as to whether, what I'm doing, what's the right thing. I scaled her back last year to just having her shod on the front feet during the summer and not on the back feet. She was fine. This summer, she's having a harder time not being shod on the front feet and also the back feet. So
Yeah.
because the feet are more weight-bearing, it's a bigger transition for her. And Washington State is very wet most of the year and very dry during the summer. So
Yeah.
climate conditions are kind of a concern too.
Well, number one, I wanna comment on I got her short because I thought that way she would get used to it if I sell her and they want to put shoes on. First of all, when I pass a horse on, I don't sell horses anymore because I have a different relationship with them, and they are my partners, and I don't sell. That's my thing. I don't sell horses. But if you pass a horse on, how? Pardon?
I totally understand that because I will probably never sell this horse.
Okay. So, but you cannot get a horse used to shoes. You either put them on or you leave them off. It's that simple. And if somebody puts them on, they do it because they think that they are doing right, and for all the reasons that I just have rattled off, all 13 of them. So, but then if your horse is now in the summertime, in summer in Washington, all of August, and then summer is over and it's going to rain again incessantly. I'm going there this weekend, so it's probably going to rain too. So I would just get together with somebody who can fit you a good pair of boots, who has access to different boots, who knows something about boots and can fit them. Audrey Bryant in Squim is a easy boot dealer. She can help you. So I would get a set of boots and put them on when you go on the trail so that you and the horse can enjoy your trail ride, and she can keep on moving, and by next year, if you keep her barefoot, you probably won't have that problem anymore, provided that she is trimmed correctly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Betsy asked, sorry, I don't know what this is, Betsy, but I can't unmute you. You are permanently muted. But she wonders if high-action horses are bringing their feet higher away from pain. Well, that's what I understand, but I am not an insider, neither in the saddlebred industry, nor in the Tennessee Walker big lick industry. So when they pull their feet up, the saddlebreds, for some reason there are always chains around the pastern. And so yes, I think this is, and the whole idea of soaring a horse in the Tennessee Walkers is that they pull the feet up higher. So if you have a horse under certain circumstances that has a lot of pain in the feet, I would think that they, if the circumstances are right, that they pull the feet more up. And I won't read your second comment to the general public. Thank you, Betsy. Mary, are you there? No, she has no microphone. And Rosemary.
Oh, okay. I'm going to squeal on Amy. She dashed off to go to a movie.
She will not be forgiven.
She got caught.
When you have a chance, tell her that.
Yes, I'll probably be talking through tomorrow. The one thing I always notice, I'm always amazed with the muscle development of horses, particular the horses that have shoes on, that their muscles are so well defined, like very ropey, and a lot of people think that that's great. They're well muscled. You know, when you look at these barefoot horses, they have a softer, supple, muscled
Yes.
look to them.
Yes.
Yeah. And on the subject of calcification, the Dynamite product, which the Americans will know more of if they know of the product, they have this product that you may have heard of it. It's a hoof dressing that's been around for 150 years and it smells and looks like shoe polish. That it amazingly will go in and break down calcification when you start rubbing it on a daily basis. And yeah, it's quite amazing, the product, because, you know, people that have bought it have used it for that.
What's it named?
They call it the wound balm.
The wound balm, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that will go in and take down some of the calcification.
It's definitely at the price worth a try.
Yeah.
And I had really good, not with Ringbone, I haven't tried it, but now that you mention it, I will try it.
Yeah.
And if we stick together a couple of years, I have a horse with really big ringbone. I may be able to tell you the results, but I have used it for other things, and it's really good. And I think Dynamite is a company that does have a high standard of products and can be, from all that I have read, thanks to your mailings, and have heard previously about them, and I had attended a seminar with Judy Sinner, and so they seem to be a bona fide company from whom you can buy with trust, and their products are not cheap, but they are trustworthy. So
Well, they're human quality. You know, they go for the quality of the product.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the company has really good intentions. Like, more above selling the products, they're actually selling a lifestyle of the horses. You know,
Yeah.
they're very much into that.
okay,
Anyways,
thank you for that. Was that it?
Very well. Yes, that was it.
Okay, thanks, Rosemary.
Okay.
Sarah? There's no Sarah. There's a lot of echo. Okay. And then we have Tracy in Australia. No? No Tracy there?
Oh, sorry, it went a bit weird. I just heard you say Australia. I wasn't sure who you were talking to.
I was talking about you. We like to talk to you.
I actually missed all of the webinar today because I had to be somewhere else. I just got back in time to hear a few of the questions because I thought I like hearing the questions at the end, just different people's ideas and that, because I've got the recording option so I can re-watch it, but I like hearing the questions. So I don't really have a whole lot to say because I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, I try now, since everybody said that, for those of you who get the recordings, I now include the questions, unfortunately only those of the recording that I choose from the three. And I usually choose the one that goes the easiest and smoothest, where we have no hiccups, or few hiccups. So that is this recording tonight.